All right, shalom, shalom. All right, Brakatiyah Haba Shem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. A double honors to the apostles, elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to you, Aki, pushing the work in truth and in sincerity. Bring forth the testimony of our Lord Yahweh Shai, which is the spirit of prophecy. Prophecy meaning to say before, all right? And so, um, I have this article. Americans are more likely to go to war with the government than to submit to the draft, okay? And over the years, you can actually see this, being true if you've been paying attention. They had this whole woke movement, all right, which in some aspects was garbage, but people are waking up to certain corruption within their own leadership, and it's definitely a recipe. It's like it's a recipe for sedition, you know. And so you can see that, let me see this real quick. I got this really quick. All right, news.gallup.com. All right, and here it says, this is the approval rating, all right, or disapproval rating. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Congress is handling its job? All right, and so as of June 3rd, from the 3rd to the 23rd of 2024, the disapproval rate is 79%, and it's consistent for the past few years. All right, so as you can see, uh, 84% is the highest disapproval rating. All right, okay, so people are fed up. All right, with their own leaders, but what I notice is that definitely this is a recipe for sedition, and it's prophetic, of course, and it kind of, it's I guess you could say do for a lesson. You can make a lesson on it. It's lesson worthy, you know, because one part of the prophecy, all right, and in our times, and was basically what's about to happen, all right, for the foreseeable futures is civil war, which they just had a movie that came out entitled Civil War, all right, where they actually storm the White House and kill the president, which was you know quite extreme from what we've seen in movies as of late, but again, so it says here, now I'm going to read you a list of institutions in American society. Please tell me how much confidence you yourself have in each one. A great deal, quite a lot, some, or very little. Congress. All right. So it says, okay. So this is how people feel about the institutions. All right. All right. Salakia. Please tell me how much confidence you yourself have in. Right. So people, it says, so people have very little confidence. All right. And the very little is weighing out the a great deal. So people don't have confidence in their own leadership. What is that? That means people are disappointed. All right. And so you can actually, I might post this in this description box. But again, it's a recipe for sedition. So I don't want to take too long, and this might be a short lesson. So going back to this article, Americans are more likely to go to war with the government than submit to the draft. Right, and one thing I do want to say, man, a lot of you people, you have absolutely no idea what's going on. A lot of you want to root for America. A lot of you want America to be preserved. Well, in in the book, in the good book, all right, America is not going to be preserved. The prophecy is set. The writing's on the wall. All right. And at the end of the day, you people are lost. All right. Because you have absolutely no hold or understanding on what the will of the Heavenly Father is. All right. And we keep telling you people, but it is what it is. We don't care if you believe or not. All right. This place, had it rained and it had its rain. As the scriptures say, Babylon was a golden cup in the Lord's hand. All right. And the Lord made this place is, what it is. All right. He made it what it is. So I'll read a little bit more and then I'll go into a few precepts and I'm going to close. This is by Brandon Smith. It says, in a national poll last month, Americans were asked if they believed a new civil war was likely to happen within their lifetime. The establishment media was shocked to report that 47% of the population said yes. All right, those of us in the Liberty media were not so surprised. I believe, according to the evidence, that we were already a short step away from civil war in 2021, 2022. All right, there were a lot of guys, millions, getting ready for the possibility of V passports enforced. All right, and see, people that's aware don't like their liberties being taken, because that's what essentially the leadership who was the government who's been infiltrated by the elite, whatever you want to call them, but we know them as Edomites. All right, who are pushing the beast system, okay, which the scriptures talk about, the beast system, right? Right. So people don't like their liberties being taken away, especially how they're doing it. All right. So it's like it. So it says gun ownership in the U.S. hit record highs during the time period, and conservative patriot groups saw a spike in public interest. As it turned out, the conspiracy theorists were right all along. There really was an organized agenda to eliminate constitutional protections. Yeah, I mean, and they're realizing that. The people are realizing that. And so with that, people, there's a lot of mad Edomites. There's a lot of mad so-called white people. All right, because this is their world. All right, this is their world. Their sovereignty is being taken away. Their privilege is being taken away. But ultimately, it's the Lord that's doing it. It's the Lord that's taking these privileges away, because we're looking at a dying society. All right, which only perpetuates death culture. We're looking at a dying society. Okay. If we had allowed the V passport policy to take hold, our liberties would have been officially erased forever. And ultimately, that's the intent of the elite Edomite power structure. They want full control. All right. They want to garner control. They want absolute control. And that's what this whole thing is about. All right. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. We, of course, we the prophets, we read the scriptures. We ultimately know the end game, the end goal. We know what the scriptures is about. We know what this world, where it's headed, because prophecy shapes the world that we live in. All right. This is God's world. This is Yahweh. All right. By Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. Yahweh Shai being the son of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. All right. This world is his inheritance. He's going to get it by any means necessary. And the Lord is only using certain entities like Esau, all right, to bring in his will. All right. And we, we explain that very intricately with certain lessons, but I'll continue. All right. If we had allowed, Slack it says economic freedoms would be abolished. Access to the jobs market and trade would be impossible for anyone refusing the V. All right, real-time tracking of the population along with a social credit system would have become the norm using mandatory cell phone apps. And that's true. All right. But it's still coming, regardless of not if regardless of how uh, um, people's disapproval. Regardless, it's only being postponed because this is the ultimate agenda, and they're gonna get it by any means necessary. So if Trump comes into office, guess what? He still is gonna push for the elite agenda. All right, birds of the same feather. All right. So, and if he does it, all right, if somehow miraculously he doesn't become president, which we believe he might, and despite we don't kind of care for politics too much, but politics is prophecy. I mean, well, um, how can I say it? Politics, well, prophecy shapes the world. So whatever happens in what's going on in politics, ultimately is the agenda of the Most High. Yahweh Shemel Shai, Daniel 4:17. All right. So it says, real-time tracking of the population along with a social credit system would have become the norm using mandatory cell phone apps. All right, because this is how they're gonna get, this is how they're gonna get everybody to deal. Because hell, everything is ran through an app. All right, the app is the new the gateway. All right, to everything in your world. All right, everything they're trying to minimalize everything to an app. All right, so that you can function, do everything through an application. All right, and that's using your phone. That's why they're trying to make the technology so innovative to whereas it's convenient. All right. Okay, so this is after that America would essentially turn into a Chinese style concentration camp. A lot of people woke up during that period and realized that an attempt at a totalitarian state in the US was not only possible, it was happening right in front of them. People didn't take kindly to that, all right? This is luckily anti anti-mandate conservatives were loud enough in the majority of red states passed legislation to block lockdowns. And they can only do it for so long, all right? If they look, if they want to if they want to, and I believe personally they prolonging it. So if they want to actually implement these things where you got to have a V passport, um, uh, they're gonna find a way to do it, and this is what's gonna happen. And people are delusional, or people are really they don't see the bigger picture. All right, the bigger picture is prophecy. All right, in Revelations 13:15, the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, which part of the image was the V's. Part of it was the V mandates. Okay, all right, that's part of it, the image. Okay, okay, because if you don't get the V, all right, you couldn't participate in society. You couldn't be a part. You couldn't live. You couldn't thrive. All right. Ultimately, okay, the image, the mark, all right, is going to play a huge part of this thing because now they'll be able to track any and everything in society, and believe me, they will justify the means of making the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, mandatory. All right, they will do it. Okay, this is the Biden administration, the CDC, and WHO, and globalist groups like the WEF abruptly backed away from their draconian programs and gave up on the mandates by the end of 2022. They didn't give up on them. All right, they only postponed. It's only been postponed. All right, it's always a little hiccup, and that is the Lord's doing. All right, because there's other things that has to be done through the Spirit. The Lord is, pretty much we have a grace period. All right, And that grace period allows for these things to kind of die down a little bit, but they are going to pick this thing back up. All right. And a lot of people think Trump is their guy because he's saying things like he's going to stop the CBDC and he's going against the deep state and all this other stuff. Man, please, all right. They will have their will ultimately because it's the Lord's will that the mark of the beast be established. All right. And that's one thing you got to understand because the scriptures talk about the hour of temptation, right? It says, and to anyone who actually believes the CDC numbers on total V are accurate, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. All right, so let me get down to the nitty gritty. All right, because this is a good article. This is a good article. All right, and of course, it's somewhat biased because it's tailored for those who are against the powers that be, and they're only drawing awareness to you know the opposition, and what the opposition is doing. All right. So it says, that said, all right, the same people are still in power today, and those people are looking for another avenue to institute sweeping controls on the populace. Right. And that's why, as of late, we got what people evacuating certain rural areas in America. All right. Because the elite is going to have their way. Okay. They're still in control. Things have just died down. They're not fully doing away with their agenda. All right. It says one tried and true method for them to achieve that goal is to start a global war and then use the inevitable chaos and fear to bring in authoritarian measures. In other words, World War III might be Plan B. The signs of this plan are everywhere, but perhaps most disconcerting is the growing discussion among Western nations about military conscription, the draft. All right. And this is where it's going to get, it's getting, it's getting a little exciting right here. All right. Because people heard about the draft and people, you seen it on social media that people wasn't taking kindly to it at all. All right. It says the most recent passage of the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, included a measure to automatically register all males ages 18 to 26, for the selective service list. To be clear, signing up for the selective service was already mandatory. A new NDAA only made it immediate instead of relying on young men to sign up on their own accord. Because people ain't signing up for war. People are, this is a social media era. People are in the meta. They're stuck in the meta. A lot of people are zombies to their telephone screens. A lot of people are moved by clout and clicks, likes and shares. All right, people are completely oblivious to what's going on. All right, and like people are more asleep now than they have ever been, even though you have waves of information just coming out about what's truly revealing the evils that's going on in society. You rarely have so many people waking up at one time. All right, it says there has also been a drive to automatically add women to the draft database, and we've seen, somewhat of a disapproval on that. People, the women you've seen memes with or skits with women, going back to the kitchen, talking about they basically they want to be women again. So everybody's shooken up about this, and this is definitely going to lead. This is a recipe for sedition. All right, it says Critics argue that the public is overreacting to the bill because it changes very little in terms of drafts and of the draft scenario. What these people don't understand is that it's not the minor revisions in the NDAA that have the public concern. It's the overall increase in rhetoric surrounding the draft. All right, that matters. Numerous military officials in the U.S. and Europe have mentioned conscription in the past year. Chris Miller, the former acting defense secretary, publicly suggested that the government should bring back mandatory service. Last month, a Washington, D.C. based think tank group called Center for a New American Security, CNAS, released a report in which they wargamed several conscription scenarios for a large scale mobilization against China. The Department of Defense used to run conscription uh, simulations, but has not done so in over 50 years, at least not any simulations that have been made public. It should be noted that the CNAC's financial supporter list is basically a who's who of globalist foundations and corporations, from George Soros Open Society Foundation to J.P. Morgan. The group found that the mobilization of a force of 100,000 new recruits within 200 days would be nearly impossible under current cultural conditions. See, and I mentioned that the social media age, right? They noted that the internet and social media present a significant obstacle. See, and I said it. I said it beforehand, right? So it says ostensibly because it allows people to share unfiltered information even during the COVID lockdowns. The insane level of control alphabet agencies and big tech companies used to throttle information was not enough to stop Americans from spreading the truth, right? And so what you have here, you do have this obstacle where the information is, pretty much conflicting with, the elite agenda, right? So guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna use another crisis. All right, they gotta go to war. It's inevitable. They have to go to war. This is what they're pushing for, right? Says the think tank also suggested that any significant draft could only succeed if the public knew they could face real punishment if they refused to comply. Interestingly, in a recommendation to the president, the report mentions that older recruits should be targeted for conscription first. Right. When you thought you were going to be overlooked, right? It doesn't cite a specific age group, but I find this suggestion highly suspicious. Older American men are more likely to resist any draft effort, right? Why? Right, because that's the age group where they know they're pretty much awoke to some of the corruption that's been going on. It says, why go after us first unless the goal is to remove us from the equation and throw us in prisons before we have a chance to organize? Right. And so what should be popping in your head? Immigrants, right? Bam. So guess what? Half the country might automatically go into what do you call those concentration camps? All right, on that alone, okay. And why do you think they let all these immigrants in, right? And appointing all these immigrants and giving them rights just out of the blue, right? So you should be able to put two and two together, right? It's just right. So it's a trade off. Okay, it says, why go after us first unless the goal is to remove us from the equation and throw us in prisons before we have a chance to organize? If you think that these kinds of discussions are limited to smoky back rooms in Washington D.C. among military analysts, think again. Far left media outlet Vox, well, I'm thinking Vought from the TV series The Boys, right? Because there's a lot of jewels in that. All right. It says, and one of the jewels that I actually seen today is that they said in that in the TV series that, well, it was somewhat of a conspiracy that they're gonna lock up half the of America in this whole political soiree. All right, for the new president. Okay. It says Vox just published an article titled "The World is Running Out of Soldiers," and it's written as if that's a bad thing. Vox seems to be in favor of the war machine, and they examine an extensive list of issues, right, showcasing why a draft might be necessary. They specifically mention the Center for a New American Securities report and even discuss why drone technology simply isn't enough to fight the next big conflagration. Right? These people want men and women to fill the current gaps in military recruitment, and conscription is a built-in measure not only in the U.S. but also in Europe. Right? Because it's there. It's a large amount of people that they got to get rid of, and that's just true. All right, and they can't fight this war with technology and drones, so on and so forth. All right, and you should see the capabilities that they have with these drones. They can follow your ass into a building and blow that whole building up. All right. Most Americans know that when the government and the media start talking about a sweeping societal change, they know that the citizenry isn't going to like. They are trying to slack it, incrementally uh, acclimate the public, yeah, the public to the eventual enforcement. All right. The U.S. government and media warnings about low military recruitment numbers have been endless, while experts assert the war is coming soon with Russia, China, and perhaps renewed conflicts in the Middle East. European governments have also been promoting conscription propaganda while doom mongering over a possible Russian invasion. So you can read more of this article. It ain't that long. It's a read though. It's definitely a read. All right. And people. Oh, well, here we go. Here, let me see. Public trust in the U.S. government is at all time lows in 2023, which I just showed in the beginning of this lesson. All right, to 2024, less than 20% of the U.S. population supports a return to the draft, similar to what we witnessed during the Vietnam War. You see, so and it's really worse now. All right, because people are woke to the corruption. Okay, people are seeing the shit, Pizzagate and sex trafficking and all of it, and the corruption. Certain parts of the government are not condemning. Other leaders. And the bullshit continues, and they know, the leadership is the reason why shit is out of rock. Shit is slow dragging. They know that it's deliberate inflation. They're printing off money, you know, uh, at the highest rate they have ever printed out money and put the country in debt, um, uh, um, significantly within the last few decades. So yeah, man, people are aware. So this is definitely okay. And I'm gonna just hit this precept. This is 2 Ezra 15. All right. And 14, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands," right? Okay, for there shall be sedition. All right, so what the word sedition is essentially an uprising, right? A rebellion, uprising, all right? Revolt, a factitious commotion in the state, concerted attempt to overthrow civil authority, right? So people already have that mindset. people are mobilizing. All right, militia groups are mobilizing, have been mobilizing, prepping. All right, to because they understand that they're at war with their own infiltrated so-called government. All right, and again, you know, what does this mean for us though? It means the end. The scriptures talk about if Satan be divided against Satan, how shall the kingdom stand? Right. So we know that this kingdom is at an end. All right, and we are closer to our salvation than when we believe, as the scriptures say. So hold on tight. Things are definitely gonna get more interesting. Things are gonna get more volatile. Things are gonna get more dangerous. All right. And so, in closing, this is 2 Ezra 15:16. For there shall be sedition among men, all right, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, right? Those are your leaders, okay? And the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? In some cases, in certain parts of the world, Babylon, aka America, there will be, certain militias, certain groups taking over, the municipalities. All right, and it's for said, okay. But that ain't the end of it. A lot of people are gonna, fall because ultimately, you know, the RFID chip, which is the MOTB, has to be established, and it will be. Okay, and so with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna have to close out. All right, until next time. All right, Lord willing, this was again edifying. Until next time, I say shalom, shalom to Yakin.